Good evening, listeners. Welcome to Underdog Hockey Pod with the host you love the most, Kurt. And tonight, once again, I'm down with the boys, with Tyler.
How's it going, boys?
And Sweet Brad.
Nice to be here, always fun.
All right, so before we get this podcast going, let's start off the right way.
All right, boys. This podcast is sponsored by Busch Bavarian. Busch Bavarian. Semi-pro reference.
Thank you, Tyler. I was appreciated. I got it for $7.99 at the liquor store.
Just water, yeah. It tastes like it.
Oh, it's like water.
No offense, Busch.
There's nothing in it.
Nothing in it. All right.
What's the alcohol content? 4.7. Yeah.
4.7. No, you know what?
Beer. It tastes like Coke-y, kind of.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I'm in a coconut thing going on.
Man, as long as it hits the liver and you're having a good time, then hey, who cares?
All right.
But tonight,
You can put it here.
Okay.
Yeah.
not to digress the topic too much.
There's a table panel with a coaster on it, Kurt, if you need it.
We should probably just start a new podcast. It's just beer.
Just talk about beer.
Talking beer.
Talking beer.
Craft beer and regular beer and
Lagers, Pilsners,
all the
IPAs.
beers. Shoot us a line if you'd like to hear us talk about beer more. Let's get into this podcast. So, what are we going for, Kurt?
So what we're discussing tonight, folks, is my favorite topic, and I often get a lot of heat on Instagram from my fellow podcasters because apparently I always try to turn it into Underdog Goalie Pod, but we're not going to worry about that. Tonight is specifically dedicated to goaltending and goaltending only. Now, if you're a goaltending listener, then fantastic. I'm glad you're tuning in on us. So, goalies. Now, what does that mean to you in the NHL today? You know, are gone are the days where we had like iconic goalies, like say in the past, such as Martin Brodeur, Patrick Roy, Dominic Hasek, which is actually a very interesting point that Brad let out earlier today. Nowadays, is the NHL becoming kind of a goalie factory where everyone kind of sort of plays the same style and
Cookie cutter.
Cookie cutters? Yes, precisely. Now, it's not a point I totally agree with it, but it is a valid point. I mean, a lot of the goalies that we've seen in the past, such as Patrick Roy, for example, who really popularized the butterfly system. He didn't invent it or really wasn't even the first goalie to do it, but he really showcased the importance of how effective it is in the modern NHL and the way shooters play. The high-scoring 80s, you saw a lot of guys with the stand-up style basically get beat on what would be considered horrendously career-ending weak goals.
Yeah.
And Patrick Roy came along, and despite criticism, people saying, well, we just shoot it upstairs. Well, they couldn't, and next thing you know, he won 4 cups and some hardware on the way. Then you got a guy like Martin Brodeur, who was a very mobile goalie. He played with a very effective trap-style team in the New Jersey Devils. But he basically brought out a new rule to the league that they created a trapezoid to restrict him. He moved the puck so well as a third defenseman that the NHL felt that they had to take away his abilities to actually be able to play the disc. And when you think about that, it's a huge innovation. Now, personally, and he actually credits Ron Hextall as being the first goalie to really play the puck and really introduce a dangerous element that a goalie could contribute offensively. And then you have someone like Dominic Hasek, who 6 Vezina trophies later with a super unorthodox style completely changed the way people thought of goaltending. So now today we're presented with mostly butterfly/hybrid goalies, and luckily for us folks, Tyler here happens to be a goaltending coach and has played some junior B hockey himself. What's your thoughts and weigh-ins on that, Tyler?
Well, I just think it's definitely the league as a whole has kind of gone to this new style. Everybody plays the same way. You used to see back in the day, goalies from different countries would have like their own styles, like Hasek and a lot of those Czech goalies back in the day, the Central European countries. They really kind of just flailed around, and they all had a similar kind of lack of style,
Mm-hmm.
if you can put it that way. And then obviously the Swedes and the Finns used to be known for their coordination, like their gloves and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Canadians were, I don't really know what we were known for, just being good goalies.
Just being good, especially French-Canadian goalies was always the stereotype.
French Canada, Brodeur and Luongo and
Patrick Roy.
Yeah, Patrick Roy and
The list goes on. Jean-Sébastien Giguère.
Yeah, Jocelyn Thibault.
Jocelyn Thibault, a forgotten name. Yeah.
But, no. And then Americans, I'd say in the last 10 years, I guess Van Beesbroek, maybe 20 years, going back 20 years now. The line's starting to come through. Mike Richter and Van Beesbroek.
Tom Barrasso, don't forget.
Tom Barrasso came through.
He was the first guy to win the Calder Trophy and the Vezina Trophy, and well, not with the first, but first American to do that.
Yeah, so they were kind of that first generation, and then you got your more recent generation of goalies. They've taken over the goaltending game. The Americans have definitely. I think every country can learn a bit from the U.S.
Man, it's unreal how developed it's become. I mean, when you think about guys like Ben Bishop, you think about Jonathan Quick, who, if you do know the goalie terminology well, like reverse VH has become a thing, and you can definitely, at least in my opinion, credit Jonathan Quick with that whole new...
He's the one that popularized it in the NHL, for sure.
With that freak athleticism of his, you really can't ignore what the Americans have certainly brought to the table in terms of goaltending. It did start off as Tom Barrasso, Mike Richter, and Johnny V, but it's definitely exploded now, and we're starting to see a lot of really solid American goalies. What's your thoughts, Sir Brad?
But what exactly?
Goaltending in the NHL. Okay, here's one for you. All right, you're a big Canucks fan. We all know you have a. He's got Canucks memorabilia all over the place. You've got Markstrom. You've got Luongo. You've got a lot of character guys in the past. Who's always your favorite to watch back in the day?
I always, personally, I know people always say you pay money to go see Price play. I don't really ever consider paying money to go see a goalie stop pucks.
Really?
Necessarily. Just for my own personal preference. Obviously it's always nice to see a great goaltending performance, but that's not exactly why I'd go to a game to see the Luongo stop pucks. I'd go watch the Sedins play. It's different. I'm the opposite. I'd rather watch players score goals than goals get stopped.
I can't say I agree with you on that one.
That's just my own personal opinion.
That's a terrible opinion.
Well,
that's a terrible opinion.
I don't think goalies are. They don't draw audiences like players who score goals. That's what I'm saying.
Well, they don't have the same star power for sure. Don't. But people go to the games to watch three things: fights, goals, and incredible saves.
Yep.
So it is a draw. There's a reason.
It is a draw, but it's not my draw that I want to go see. I want to go see goals and fights, and then that may be a save or two.
Yeah, I just said that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I know you did.
I guess you have to be a certain kind of thinker for it. But like myself, watching a guy like, I'm a huge Pecorini fan. The guy, other than the fact of his unreal athleticism, and he's a very strong goalie, arguably the best regular season goalie at this point you could ever meet. It is fun to watch his style of play and just how unique he is, but then at the same time...
he's getting old, though. He just signed an extension, didn't he?
Renee, I think 2-year extension.
2 years, $7 million or something like
that? $5 million maybe?
I don't know what it was.
I think it went down.
We'll have to look it up on Cap.
But, when he's in the back nine of his career, and he's one of the last few that's just kind of just stop the puck whatever you can. He's more of a dying breed. Might be one of the few that left. Because there's no way, Craig, you might be able to test this, that any goalie coach or goalie academy is teaching their players to stop pucks like that.
He's pretty unique.
They have every goalie playing the same way.
Well, that's the thing is, every generation gets outdated and becomes old school.
Yeah.
Obviously the guys we were talking about, if you go back and watch them play now, you look at, Patrick Waugh and Brodeur and stuff, and you're like, what the hell are they doing in there?
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Oh, they were so against the book.
That stuff wouldn't fly.
No.
Today.
If you went up...
It looks so awkward compared to today's style.
Yeah.
But now, 10 years from today, if we go back
different.
and we listen to this podcast and we watch the highlights from tonight's games, you'll see goalies doing the reverse VH and everybody's 6'8" and taking up the net and just leaning on that post. It's going to evolve again. Every generation it changes, and
every 10 years.
Yeah. So right now, this is normal and this is natural, but we're going to come up very soon. It's going to be different in 2 or 3 years again.
Well, it's funny with Pekka, though. I kind of like to defend him a bit. When you watch him play, like him himself, this isn't the Pecorini show, but his athleticism is insanely high. But to give him to the fact, though, too, that there are very few goalies. I'm surprised that he really doesn't get a lot of nods for how strong he is at moving the puck. if you watch him play, like anytime anybody dumps into the boards, he's so quick at retrieving the puck, and I've seen him, the guy dish passes from behind his net to the other team's blue line to create breakaway chances. Like that's an element
because their defense is so good.
It could be that, but the fact that he's able to move the puck so confidently, and like that's such a new trend for goalies now. Still, even despite the fact that there's the trapezoid to kind of hinder that, it's remarkable. And actually, also sorry.
Side note: are you for the trapezoid or against it?
I'm kind of against it. People think it slows down the game, but I don't really think so because I mean, if
it slows down. I wouldn't say it slows down the game.
Prevents the goalies from getting in the corner and slowing the game down.
Yeah,
what they wanted, because you can't hit the goalie.
Yeah.
So if the goalie has the puck in the corner, they can kind of just shield it with their body.
They can do whatever they
can't
want.
Touch them, right?
Like they're kind of immune to. They're kind of like a special X factor, and they did it because of players like Brodeur. Because when they brought this rule in, it's when the Devils and Brodeur were such a boring ass team to watch. Because they were so tight and the neutral zone, so they forced you to dump it in. When you dump it in, you give it to Brodeur. He chips it out, and then that's it. Like you couldn't score on the Devils, and that's why they had to bring this trapezoid in, because it was such boring hockey, and it kept those goalies from killing offensive opportunity and their other teams getting pressure. Because if every goalie just chips it out, go and gets it. There's no pressure. That means there's less goals in the game, and they're never going to do that.
Well, and again, Gary Bettman's modern game. That's a topic. He's a topic we surely talk about one of these days.
I don't understand.
I got no beef. I don't understand
why people hate him so much.
I don't either. But but what I'm getting at is in his modern NHL, he wants goal scoring because he wants to attract.
It's goals. There's 500-point players this year. That sure as hell hasn't happened in a long time.
That's pretty rad, though.
There's and there's 40 goal scorers and there's 30 goal scorers.
And yet there's goalies that still put up ridiculous numbers for goals against and save percentage.
Yeah,
it's amazing how skilled the game has become.
I think the overall save percentage and stuff has gone down. Like the average this year, it's all down from previous years.
Yeah,
and I think that has a lot to do. There's a couple factors. There's the decrease in goalie gear size. They shrunk that down a bit.
Yeah,
they want to shrink it again.
It was the elbow pads, wasn't it?
Oh, the shoulder pads are smaller now.
The padding through the arms,
which a lot of goalies complained about, but whatever.
They want more goals to go through the arms, which I think it's perfect the way it is. Don't touch your goalie equipment anymore.
Don't make the nets bigger, for God's sakes.
Oh God, no! I'm so against. That's still stupid.
Yeah,
I think another reason is because what is it? I feel like there were a lot more power plays this year.
They were really coming down hard on slashings.
Yeah, which was they actually stayed with that all year.
Yeah,
like last year they implemented it?
I think it was this year.
I think it was last year because Goudreau broke his hand like 2 years ago and Crosby chopped off Mathat's finger.
I don't know, but yeah.
That was brutal.
I don't remember, but
So last year they implemented it,
yeah,
and then they called it for like the first month, and then they kind of just let it go.
Yeah.
And then this year they stayed hard on it, and there's been a lot. I feel like there's been a lot of more power plays.
Oh, there's a lot
per
more.
Game.
There's a lot.
And so that increase in opportunities, and everybody's got a top unit now. That's like rock solid.
Number one unit.
Every team has a number one unit. That's 4 forwards and a defenseman.
Yeah, it's umbrella.
And there's a lot of goals being
scored.
Or
overload.
So it's umbrella. It's one guy at the top.
Yeah. Overload.
It's umbrella.
No.
It's one guy at the top.
Don't question Chell.
It's always
that's what I use.
Top. Every team is doing it.
At any rate, beyond that though, yeah, goaltending in the modern NHL has certainly become an interesting factor.
I think it's interesting because it's not interesting anymore.
It is interesting though because
it's not fun.
How is it not fun?
I'd rather watch Hasek make saves.
I think Vasilevsky doing the twist,
arm
twist behind the back.
He's made so many saves with his skate blade. I don't know how he does it, just kicking up his heel.
The guy's a beast. I mean, even the other day with the Canucks versus the Kings, the Kings are getting outplayed in overtime, and then Quick just makes an unreal pass across save on Besser. Like, you can't really take away the goaltending the way it is, but I think what's definitely changed is one thing we won't see anymore is the fat contracts like we used to. I think Price really got the last one.
No, Price. Well, for one, that's the stupid ass contract. I mean, I get it. He's the franchise, but
He's the face of the franchise.
He is he is everything to that team and that entire city. But $10.5 million,
he would have got that on the open market.
He would have. That's the problem.
That's the thing, is that they had to pay him that.
They kind of had their hands tied, but he's past his prime. They're paying him for previous success for his own it never translated to team success. But they never got to the cup final. He's never had a long playoff run. He's always gotten hurt, or the Habs can't score goals. But goalies, how much do you pay your starting goalie? That's what it comes down to. How much do you value your starting goalie? Because other goalies that have better numbers in price or just as good are getting paid almost half. Guys like Vasilevsky, who's probably going to get in the 10 range. Bobrovsky is overrated. I'm not a Bobrovsky fan. If he gets over 7, it's in the open market from Florida.
Well, he's gonna break the bank this year too.
But I don't understand
Somebody's
how
gonna
he's
pay
get
If he gets
money.
to the playoffs. I
think they're pretty much in now.
I think they have the tie break with Montreal, so they should be in.
They've
Montreal
got the most regulation overtime wins out of the 3 teams that they're.
They have to just simply lose out in points. If any one of those 3 teams gets a regulation loss, then the final 2 they're screwed. But Connor Hellebuck is getting paid around 6. Around 6.
I think it was 6 by over 7. Yeah.
So he's $6 million. See, now if there's a $6 million starter is valued at, what do you want your starter? Your starter goalie, what, a 920 save percentage, 2.5 goals against average? That's probably what a $6 million goalie would buy you. Just roughing it.
92.
92.
That's I think that's pushing it.
That's a little high.
A little high.
Okay,
not much. I'd say 917, 918.
So I'd say all right. Just for argument's sake, a 920 gets you $6 million goalie. What does a $10.5 million goalie get you? A 97 save percentage?
No,
do you know what I'm saying? The value.
92. The increases in save percentage are drastic to the increases in. Should be drastic to the increases in wage. 9. I think they said the average this year right now is sitting around 912.
Yeah.
In the league.
It's not that great.
No, it's down. I think usually the average is around 915.
Yeah.
So a 917, 918 would put you in a pretty good starter. Pretty good starter category. But if you can get up over 920, you should be asking 7, 8 plus. Because those are incredible stats, especially in the NHL.
Well, I'm thinking about price. If he's getting paid 10.5, you better get paid in your value. If he's just getting a 915, 910 save percentage, the amount of he's costing you so much more per save than you could get for other starting goalie at half the price.
Mm-hmm.
No pun.
How much is Right said Fred Anderson getting?
5, I think.
5.
He's getting 5? I'm just looking at the stats right now.
They signed him to a really good contract.
It was 5 times 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
Vasilevsky right now has 38 wins in the NHL. Then right behind him is tied is Fred Anderson with Sergei Bobrovsky. So here's one for you. So Vasilevsky right now has a 242 goals against average with a 925 save percentage. So that's getting he's being paid out pretty nicely for especially. But then you have to also mind that he has the freak team that is Tampa Bay right now.
You're talking about Vasilevsky.
Correcto.
He's drastically underpaid, but you also have to remember when he signed that deal, he was the backup to Bishop.
Yeah.
So they were he hadn't proven himself as a starter yet. They were giving him the reins, and they were like, here's a cheap contract. Let's see if you can do it for 3 years. If you can, then you'll get your money. But
if he will get his money.
He's gonna get his money. Yeah.
He will triple that.
Out of the goalies who have played, do you say he's got 60 this year?
For what?
Because everybody's played 80 or 81 games now, I think, right? He's played 52. Okay, so
he's 38 wins.
52 games.
He's got hurt for a while there too, though.
Yeah, he was injured.
I think if he was around, I think if he wasn't hurt for a while there, he would have easily broken the record for most of regular season wins.
I need to find a better website.
Okay, Ben Bishop has the best save percentage at 933.
I know, but he's only played 45 games this year. He's only played half the season.
Which kind of...
Because he's always injured.
No, he's right in the wheelhouse with other starters.
For save percentage or goals against?
He's got the highest save percentage and the lowest goals against.
Like, he's having an incredible season, but nobody's talking about him.
Who people are talking about though? You guessed it, folks. In St. Louis, Jordan Binnington.
Yeah, he's played great.
Unreal.
21-2 or something like
That
that.
30 games though.
What's that?
30 games though.
No, that's fine. But the thing is, what's funny about him though is that
Hamburglar-esque.
yeah,
Brian Elliott led the league in save percentage on St. Louis, playing 40 games a season.
Yeah.
So
well,
Okay, all right. Who's played
Give
the
him
most
the starters,
games? Who's played the most games for goalie? Any
this year.
guesses? Any guesses?
guesses.
Ooh, that's a
Who
good
did
one.
it? Probably Toronto's goalie.
No,
Anderson?
Sparky's got a lot of starts lately though. Who is it? Jonesy.
Stubnik
Doobie.
at 67 games.
Holy.
We're
Yeah,
close.
Price.
And that's on a team that's not even going to make the playoffs.
I know. Like they were just riding him, hoping
Yeah.
he can get us in there.
With Alex.
And he had a 913 save percentage behind a pretty mediocre team, so it's not bad. Price is at 65 games. It's pretty surprising because was he played a healthy year or is he hurt?
He's been healthy all
He's
year.
been healthy all year?
Yeah, he has. That's right. Because Yemi's gotten
So
very few starts.
Price is a 2.5 goals against average and a 917 save percentage. 35 wins in 65 games.
Goaltending, though, I will say this though. This is the unique. Well, I mean, you can see it with players too. But so look at Binnington for example. He mind you, he hasn't played that much, but he was definitely heavily a part of that whole transition when St. Louis went from last to a playoff spot. I mean, they're clinched now. They're in. And with that in mind, it really can kind of surprise you. Like I personally, I guess I'm very against in modern NHL of overpaying goalies or paying goalies a lot of money.
I think that's the talking point right now is how much do you pay your goalies? 'Cause
Yeah.
how much do you pay Borowski? How much does Markstrom get?
Okay, look at Leonard and Grice right now.
Yeah,
They're not being paid that
That's-
much.
That's the thing that you can find cheaper goalies at $3 million that can get you a few bucks, save you a few bucks. You're better off just loading up front. Like the design now is having star forwards. They get $10 million each. Maybe have a good defenseman, maybe two, couple guys, and then a goalie just to stop the first shot. That's kind of the design of what the NHL is right now.
Which you can't really blame it though, because like the perfect example I was thinking about on my drive here was I couldn't help but think of when Chicago won the cup in 2010. How they had, if you can, anyone can look that up. They had, I love Chris Paul-Huet, but they had Chris Paul-Huet for a ridiculous amount of money on Chicago. He really didn't have a good year, and according to sources, i.e. Wade Flaherty, who is the goaltending coach for Chicago at the time, he had told me that apparently Chris Paul-Huet was really trying to change his style. He didn't want to be a scramble goalie anymore, and apparently that completely backfired on him terribly. Chicago made the playoffs. Huet got a few starts.
Niemi took over.
Niemi, who no one knew, the guy was a Zamboni driver before he was in the NHL. Well, and he also played in the Finnish Elite League. But then he came out of nowhere. He made the first save and sometimes the second save, and that's all he needed to do.
He's one of those goalies where I think he was overrated by people.
We got big money from San Jose. In the end, he did.
At the time, big money.
At the time, yeah.
QA?
No,
Miami?
Huet got ridiculous money at the time though. For what you should look it up right now. For his position in Chicago, they put a big paycheck out for him, and he did not deliver.
That's when they had like QA and Javi Bulin. Wasn't it?
Bullen wasn't there anymore. He was in Edmonton, I believe. He was there at one point.
Was was he ever part of their cup teams?
He was. He's a backup goalie. He's the only French netminder to ever win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it pains me to say this. I'll let you do your research here, whatever you're doing.
Well, I'm not looking at anything.
We'll look up Chris Paul-Huet for a second.
Yeah, look up his cap hit.
I wanted to see that because they paid some big money for him for that time.
Pains me to say this as a goalie because you want to see your goalies get paid. But if I was a GM, I would max out my starters probably around 4.5, 5 mil.
4.5, yeah, 4.5, 5.
No, I agree.
Because that's all you can really afford to pay. I think Hellebuck got overpaid, and he's regressed this year now.
Yeah, it feels like that entire team's been in idle mode waiting for the playoffs. Which a lot of teams have, I think.
Useless line, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they signed July 1st, 2008, Chicago Blackhawks signed Huey for 4 years at 5.6.
5.6 for Chris
2.5.
Huey, who
He was like 37 at the time or something like that.
no, he wasn't quite that old, but he was older. And the thing is, his whole like tenure within the NHL, at least in his prime years, when he was in Montreal, then he went to Washington, left Washington, went to Chicago. He kind of was a flash in the pan in the sense that like he was a one-hit wonder where he was, wow, he's amazing. Oh, wait a minute, he's come back to earth and never mind.
Yeah. And if you look, like, going back into history, too, the example you like to use all the time is Detroit back in the late 90s, early 2000s, with Chris Osgood, the most average goalie in NHL history.
He's got so tough, that guy.
If your team's good enough, you just need a goalie that can stop the puck. He just needs to be competent. A goalie can sink a team, but if the team in front of them can't score, then...
Like even Niemi. Like, he's not a great goalie. He's on Hall of Fame, but he won a cup because the team in front of him was so good.
That's
He
what I
just
mean.
had to
he just needed to be good enough.
just be good enough.
That's my problem with the modern NHL, and I read a really interesting article about it was an article about how Border was overrated because it's very easy for a non quote unquote elite goalie to succeed. You've got Matt Murray. Well, Matt Murray apparently has a very serious problem of not being able to complete a full season within the NHL. Even Casey DeSmith this year actually kind of somewhat proved that he could very well hold his own. Matt Murray came up big in the playoffs when he needed to, which really is the most important time of the year. But does he deserve big money for what he's done? I mean, he's got you two cups, but he really doesn't produce in the regular season. He's basically been at this point just a playoff goalie, and then he got limited by Washington last year. So
Yeah.
it's very hard to really. You kind of need somebody that's hungry to show up in net. You need someone that's determined and who wants to work for it. I think the near future, though, with the NHL is that you're really just not going to see big paychecks, big paychecks.
And I think Bobrovsky is going to skew the stats. He's going to fuck it up this offseason. And then he's going to Florida. He's going to Florida.
Why Florida?
He's going to get his money.
It's going to be
He's going to go to
Florida.
Florida.
Well, what's going to happen with Luongo? You think
He's going to... They're kind of... It sounds like... Because he's had, 4 or 5 separate injuries this year.
Yeah.
And he's played okay. Like, he's still got game. Just that they're kind of like this winding down the season as it is a send-off.
Yeah.
And... what they'll do is they'll have him, Reimer, and Bobrovsky, and Luongo go in the training camp, fail his physical, and he'll go on LTIR, like Hossa.
That's a very bold statement.
No, that's what they're gonna do. Like, I'm telling you, that's what they're gonna
Because they saw that young blood.
Projecting this to
Who's that young blood they got on the team? Sam
Montembeau.
So they got some young blood still coming through the ranks.
If you told me that you would start with, if you got to take a non-playoff team to start building onto, Florida would be right up there for me. Like, if I had to take control of one team,
Oh, yeah.
like, they'd be top 3 for sure.
They're my number one team in Chelsea in 19 to play as.
Like,
They've got pretty much everything you need to be successful already.
like,
You got a franchise center.
and that's why they all need goaltending. That's why they're going to go pay Bobrovsky at 32. He's going to be a free agent, 31.
Sponsorship moment. Who are we drinking now? Kroggy.
Oh, yeah. Should we go to a commercial break here?
Yeah, we should go to a commercial break.
Okay, we're going to go to commercial, and we'll come back. And we're back.
Brad, I think you're starting to finish off here.
Sorry?
You're going to call a point there.
You're making a point. Doesn't matter what your point was.
You guys threw me off. I don't know what else.
That's all right. Anyway, we're right now at Red Truck Beer.
Yeah, Red Truck sponsor in the second half.
Golden Ale, what fitting drink to have for your beverage?
Gold medals. Yeah, nobody's paying us for these, so.
Well, not yet. But the premise is...
Bobrovsky.
How nice
Bobrovsky in Florida.
Yeah.
Florida is on paper, they're pretty solid. But they missed Trocheck for a good chunk of the season. Mm-hmm. But they're going to have Bobrovsky between the pipes, which at least he's a good regular season goalie. You can at least get him into the playoffs. he doesn't like just just get his money and then
He's another guy that's going to rake it in off of past success.
yeah.
He's got 2 Vezinas to his
And his
name.
agent's gonna be. That's the first thing he's gonna say every time somebody calls him on July 1.
2
Vezinas.
Vezinas.
2 Vezinas.
Not 1. 2 Vezinas.
Does your starting goalie right now have 2 Vezinas? I didn't think so.
You
That's
don't
why you're
need-
calling
you don't
my
need-
client who has 2 Vezinas.
The problem is with goaltending though is that
we want 8 times 8.
no, they want They want Stanley Cups. They want
7
playoff
times 7.
success.
10 times 8.
Oh, here's
Yeah.
This is good timing actually. I'm glad you brought this up. Okay, this is another example what we've learned about goaltending. People don't care how well you do in the regular season. There have been so many goaltenders within the NHL that have sank because you have a wicked regular season. Prime example of that is former goalie, the net detective himself, Jim Carey from Boston, Massachusetts. He was runner-up when he first came to the NHL in the mid-90s. He was Washington's kind of golden boy, the come from the Portland Pirates. He made a run for the Calder Trophy. Awesome regular season. Playoffs came around. He sank faster than the Titanic. Round 2, again, regular season, wins the Vezina Trophy. Then gets absolutely demolished in the playoffs once again, which we would later see the introduction of, or the debut of Olaf Kolzig, who would end up being he's kind of the forgotten goaltender of Washington.
Yeah.
But he would later go on to have a career off that. But the reality of it is that what people really want from a goaltender nowadays is playoff success. What do you really bring to the table? Look at in a modern example, Mike Smith. Mike Smith, yeah, he's older now. Actually, side note, I personally think that as a spoiler, I think the Flames are gonna be out in the second round, but we're not gonna get to that. Their goaltending, for example, is crazy hot and cold. It doesn't matter if it's Great Save Dave or old man Mike Smith. They're hot and cold. Mike Smith, to go back to him, sure he got Arizona to the conference finals. But he hasn't really done anything else after that. Like what else?
Never did anything before that. Hasn't done anything.
He
since.
didn't. Yeah, he hasn't done anything. Like he may have played a game with Tampa Bay. He never really played in Dallas in their playoff years. Back when Turco was their starter.
They caught lightning in a bottle that one year.
Yeah.
That being said, though, he does have the experience. He does have the pedigree to get deep in the playoffs, and who knows how it can go.
You gotta be. Here's the thing to talk about though with goaltending in the playoffs is that you gotta be tough. You gotta be mentally upstairs. You gotta be like stone.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I had to think of a guy like Pecorino, like best regular season goalie you meet in town. But until he wins a cup, that's all he's gonna be remembered for. If he's remembered.
Who?
He's been to a final.
Pecorino. That's the problem though. But the thing is,
Pecorino Hall of Fame.
I hope so. I really do. I love Pecorino.
No cups. He just goes 2 more second round exits. He wouldn't get in the Hall of Fame.
If he goes to Hall of Fame, I'd be really happy for him. I love Pecorino, but the thing about him, and unfortunately what he's going to be remembered for up until this point, unless things change dramatically, is that he is going to be remembered as the guy who couldn't cut it in playoffs. Against Pittsburgh in the Stanley Cup final, he let some pretty goals in.
He was terrible in Pittsburgh, but great in Nashville.
Great in Nashville. When he played he got like Longo.
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing. When he played against Colorado, I remember last year in the playoffs, he had a lot of I think he unfortunately was a major reason why Colorado really made a series as much as they did, other than the fact that they just worked hard and Andrew Hammond all of a sudden came out of nowhere and started burgling like he did with Ottawa.
Mm-hmm. No, Nashville. I mean, we want to talk about Nashville for a second. They got to start more. They kind of are so vanilla. Up and down the lineup, no, they don't have much. Is Subban a star player? Probably.
Yeah.
Ryan Johansson's been pretty shitty this year. He's only has 13 goals and 50 points, 60 points. He's not that great. He's so much better than what he's playing right now.
But he could turn it up in the playoffs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You guys better get going here because you're gonna get bounced by Winnipeg in the second round. Possibly in the first round of St. Louis lost tonight.
St. Louis is a hungry team, and they've got themselves a good young goalie.
But Nashville, you've been having the same core for a few years now.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put it together, and I know you made it a cup final, but
But let's see that from Rene though. I think
Rene's got to do it finally. He's been hit and miss in playoff series
because he did say
real misses.
He did say that he would take a backseat at UC Saros if the call was made. if they said, we want the young blood to take over from here, he said he wouldn't have a problem with that because he's a team first kind of guy, and he's classy European, so he's obviously going to be think for the team, and that's really should be the attitude of any goaltender out there. On a lighter note, when's Kincaid going to get a start?
Never.
That was the weirdest trade. They must at the time. I'm not gonna say that they brought him in thinking that they were I'm thinking they brought him in as insurance, or it was a side deal thinking that they had a deal in place to move Bobrovsky.
Did they really
I don't think that was the case.
I think
he was a deadline day deal, wasn't he?
He was
the day of. So I think he was just injury insurance in case one of the other two.
I think that also might have been it might have been one of the kind of maybe Justin, because or at the very least he was that and forced his goalies that there is a guy we got that he can play, he can stop the puck if your guys aren't doing it, so you better start stopping the puck.
He's the stick.
Just to kind of stick, put a fire underneath Bobrovsky and Korpisalo, Kincaid,
Like I said, when that trade happened, I don't know if I said it on the podcast or not, but I didn't like that move per se as a goalie, because especially in practice and stuff, you're not getting your normal reps in if there's 3 goalies on the ice. I'm sure Bobrovsky's got his own end and the 2 backups are switching at the other end, but
here, why don't you give us some insight here? What's it like in a competitive situation? Because me and B-Rod, unfortunately, have never really been left to those kind of sticks and stones. But
before Croggy, they actually were talking about that about Luongo. Is if why doesn't he just be a backup next year? Being a backup sucks.
It does suck.
And sort of what Croggy was saying, your life is just you're kind of at a punching bag.
But
you're just taking shots from the extras, the morning skates. You always got to be there for the morning skate. You always got to be there for training exercises with the shooters, the injured players. You're just a punching bag, and then you do all this training. You never get to play a game, or more often now than.
And then you get thrown in on the second of the back-to-back games.
The second of the back-to-back games
in the league and get shelled.
Or you go in the third period and trying to save a 3, and your team's down 4-1.
But actually, that's a new thing. Actually, we should probably mention with goaltending now is that
you've been sitting on the bench for 2 hours.
But gone are the days now where you put the backup goalie against the poopy teams now. But rather now you put your starter against the poopy teams, get those guaranteed points, and then if it's a back-to-back night against a Tampa Bay, then you put your backup in to get just shelled.
Yeah, I think you see Tampa Bay.
You sacrifice those points because you need to guarantee yourself the other points.
Yeah.
But it's funny because that wasn't always the case. It used to be the opposite. Before you would put your backup goalie against a weaker team, you're like, whatever.
Totally, yeah.
Tampa Bay now has been playing. What's that kid's name now? The
third string. They're in a very unique situation in that they clinched the President's Trophy.
They don't want to play
3 weeks left in the season. But
they don't want Vasilevsky or Dubing in net.
Yeah, so they got Edward Pascali.
Pascali, that's the one. Pascali. So, and yeah, he had a decent game the other night. But regardless of that, it's funny how the whole dynamic of goaltending is just the face is completely changed from when we were I know for a lot of us growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, watching playoff hockey, it's just the whole face of goaltending has changed.
Everything. Completely different position from what we grew up watching, for
sure. It's bizarre but very interesting how it's panned out in the end. Putting somebody like that in net for the rest of the season, or even what we were talking about with Fleury with the Vegas Golden Knights, how Fleury got hurt, but then he also has had another child. And now Vegas was well, you know what? Just stay home, show up for practice.
Same thing.
We've
clinched a spot. We can't move up. We can't move down.
We're playing San Jose.
Rest it up, yeah.
Just rest it up and, take care of your new child. And before, would you have seen that in the NHL? Growing up, we think that teams would have just let Luongo stay home? Or do you think, oh no, we're in the playoff, but we need to keep playing? You need to keep playing.
What do you mean? Sorry?
How we're talking about so for Fleury, he was hurt. He had a new child. His new baby was born, and they're
send him home.
Yeah. So they sent him home. They sent him home for now. He'd show up for practice.
I'm sure that's definitely happened before.
Yeah,
it's the same thing as just sitting players for a game or two, especially for Fleury. They probably say, yeah, you've played like 85% of the games. You need some rest, like longevity of rest.
Yeah, especially with that team where he was the guy last year too for the whole season. Other than that
He was
stretch
hurt,
at the start of the year, he was injured.
I think, well, remember, like, he went to the Cup final, but he also played like 30, 40 games in the regular season. Like, he was pretty fresh as can be going to the playoffs.
But that's the thing, right?
He's not that.
He was
he's not
injured
that much this
early.
year.
He played the majority of the games from
When he was
December,
in the lineup.
December.
He had like
onward,
6
maybe?
goalies, wasn't it? Last year, it was like incredible.
It was up there, yeah. So he had that whole thing. He went all through the playoffs as the starter. Really short off season, and then back at it. He played like 60 games this year again, and he's only had his break recently.
Yeah. So now we're seeing Malcolm play a lot, which is good for him for exposure wise, because at least he gets more experience. He gets more comfortable in there. And if he is going to be the future of Vegas' goaltending, then this is good practice. But my question was for Kroggy was that since you have played in a competitive situation with goaltending, even if it was junior hockey, like what's that like? You know, you've got 3 goalies, 2 goalies, you're the backup goalie, you're the starter goalie. What's that all like for any kind of viewers that don't really have that sort of familiarity with that?
It's a lot like you explained. You take your end of the net. You're sharing a lot of the time, especially in junior. They like to roll 3 goalies a lot of the time, or bring in APs and stuff for practice. So you don't really get your full reps. You've got sometimes you got a goalie coach there who is not really. How do I put this?
Thinking about you.
Yeah, kind of like he's more focused on the starter, right?
You're an afterthought.
Yeah, you kind of, you're there and you're kind of just taking shots, and he'll come down and he'll make a comment, maybe 1 or 2 comments throughout the whole hour and a half practice, and so you won't really get much input from him. You're basically just focused on yourself.
Versus a player, I like to think the whole team kind of gets more of an insight, even if you're on a 4th line. They want to
you got your head coach who's drilling you. You got the assistants who are coming around while you're in the lineups on the flow drills and stuff, and talking to the guys, and they're like, "Hey, I saw this, and
you need to correct that.
Do this differently," and so it's a little different. But like getting back to the way goaltending's changed, I think you remember how every goalie was considered crazy back in the day.
I'm still crazy. Are you still crazy?
Well, a little bit. Goalies are weirdos.
Man,
right?
growing up, they probably should have thrown me a psych ward.
It's never too late, Kurt.
Goalies were always considered weirdos. I find today though, getting back to that whole vanilla-ness, everybody's robotic. Everybody plays the same way. Everybody, for the most part, goalies in the NHL today seem normal, like normal functioning human beings.
Oh,
there's a few standouts.
There some of them. Have you seen their warm ups?
There's a few personalities and stuff.
Their quirkiness in pregame things. They are quirky, but it's fun.
Well, Robin Leonard was he was really off the hinges all those years in Buffalo.
Why is that? Why are goalies weird?
He was a case where
it just comes. The position is
stress.
Cut you off. It's a stressful position. You're on your own.
Yes.
You only have you to rely on.
It's a team game, but
it's a lot up here.
You spend so much time up here. You're just
your own
a little off.
It's true because you're playing you are by yourself. The only other guy that plays your position is on the bench, not playing, or the guy across from you and the other crease who's against you. I've always said this growing up. It's a team sport, but it's an individual position.
Yeah,
it's 100% best way to put goaltending.
I'd say a lot of people compare it to pitching. I've never played baseball really, so
pitching is horrible. Don't do it. Next slide.
Yeah, pitchers they're kind of weird too, aren't they?
It sucks.
It's a similar position because you communicate kind of with the back catcher tells you what to do.
No, he makes play like he'll call what to do.
He'll give you the pitch signal, but everything you're doing is in your own head, and it's your actions that lead to the hit, or whether it's a strike or not. So,
and to quote Bull Durham, if you wave off your back catcher, he might get up and say, "If you don't fucking listen to me, I'm just going to tell him what you're going to throw." But as Kroggy's saying though, it's you're on your own. Like it's mentally taxing more than almost it is physically because you're trying so hard. And there's that insurmountable amount of pressure on you, especially when you go into deep into the playoffs. there's times where either you're riding a wave of confidence or you're just absolutely just like on the ground beside yourself.
It's equal parts mental as it is physical, if not even more mental.
I'd say it's more mental.
It's probably
100%.
60-40 mental.
Mentally wise, like, you've got to be so confident with yourself. That's an old quote that they used to say about John Van Beesbrook when he took Florida to the finals in '96, beating teams that were high powered like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia with like Lemieux, Yager, dealing with Legion of Doom line with Eric Lindros and John LeClaire. They said the guy that really John Van Beesbrook looked up to the most was the guy he looked at when he was shaving in the morning, because he had to have that confidence in himself to really play.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until he ran into another guy that was a stud with a stacked team in front of him. It was in Patrick Waugh. You look at last year with Braden Holtby. Braden Holtby's got a lot of weird little quirky things he does. He does the whole he really works his eye muscles, which has become kind of a new fad within the goaltending spectrum. It's a muscle you can work. He always dashes a little bit of water in the air, so he kind of keeps track of.
He's the one that watches as the water squirts out, right?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, but mentally wise, I think he has to be really prepped. And goaltending goes both ways, though, too. If you feel confident in your team, if you're watching your team succeed, they're doing well, they're moving the puck well, they're on the attack, they're taking shots at their goalie, they're playing defensively smart, then you feel like $1 million, and you're just going to keep riding that momentum. Teams make mistakes. They're turning over the puck. Shots are just coming at you left, right, and center, and you have to be like alert like a Falcon. You don't play with as much confidence. All of a sudden, you start second guessing yourself. It's like, man, if I make a mistake, it's over. Like, or I'm screwed.
Yeah, the team determines a lot of whether or not you're going to succeed.
Vasilevsky right now must be the most confident guy you'd ever meet in the room, or Domingue even for that matter, because he knows that his team's going to score.
Yes. You're right on that, but that can also be a double-edged sword. Because what if they are down 2-1 in a series, down 2-0 in a series? They haven't felt losing all year long. I want to see them. We've never seen Tampa shook up.
Well, you know who.
I want to know how they respond.
You know who their kryptonite is?
Washington?
No, Jordan Binnington. He's beaten them twice. He shut them out the first time, and then he beat them the second time.
Yeah,
but he's
they were saying who might they match up with? Who's holding that first?
Well, right now it's going to be
Columbus. It's going to be right now it's Columbus, but it's 1 versus 8. Whoever is the next seed.
Well, Columbus could actually give them a matchup.
I think on paper,
they're that one team I wouldn't want to face.
They could get hot.
They're kind of
they're starting to pull it together.
They're starting to, yeah. It's getting late in the season, but they're starting to figure things out.
I'm not sure what they are right now, but they started winning against. They started picking their shit up against the Canucks.
Yeah, that was the one that turned it around. That stomping.
And they won 4 or 5 or something like that. I don't know what it is, but something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But the goaltending was though, it's quite the spectrum. But I say though, like if you're Vasilevsky right now, you are one confident dude going into those playoffs. Like you know that you have the ability to. He does have the ability to make the big stops, but it's whether or not he really will have to. I'm sure he will at one point or another when he gets deeper into the playoffs, when he's taking on a team like a Washington or a Pittsburgh or Islanders.
Yeah. You keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, you can't help if you ever played the position, or if you're a listener who has played the position, you know what it's like, or you might know what it's like to really play with confidence when you've got team momentum. Your team's doing well, then it means all you gotta do is make the easy save. And if your team knows how to play around you well, then hey, life's good, for lack of a better word. But yeah, goaltending is such a fascinating subject within the new NHL. It's terribly complicated because there's often a line between who's an elite goaltender and a good goaltender, and do you need an elite goaltender, or can you just be a good goaltender and succeed? And really, you can kind of make an argument for both sides of that. Both sides, that you can be an elite goaltender and play a big factor and have your team succeed, or you can be just all right and still succeed. But that's it really is a topic that can go on and on and on and on. Any other thoughts you want to kind of weigh in on there, boys, before we kind of conclude this?
About everything?
Yeah.
Well, this Kate. I was listening on to I think it was Hockey Central at noon. I don't know. But there are so many teams this playoffs that have question marks in net. Like
there were a few last year too.
That was.
But like I'm saying, like, well, they're always. It seems like this year, like some of the top teams could get like in the first round. It could be just whoever gets hot. I mean, that's stupid. It sounds stupid because it's it's pretty obvious.
No, but it's not stupid though. It makes sense.
San Jose is a cup contender, but if Jones doesn't pick up his shit, they're going to be out in 5.
Aaron Dell's not going to help either.
No, they're both under 900 save percentage.
That's incredible.
Both like and like that's how good their team is. They are such a powerful team up front. Carlson has been just like mysteriously hurt, and he's just going to come back in the playoffs, which is weird.
Yeah,
like he's been hurt. Yeah, he'll be back in the playoffs. But what's wrong with him? Well, we can't talk about it. Yeah. He'll be ready when they playoffs start. I'm like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Just flick a switch. Yeah, I'm ready to play now. I'm not even sure what's wrong with them, but they have question. Toronto Anderson's having trouble right now,
and Sparks has been useless. In my
Toronto's
opinion.
had trouble. Columbus has Bobrovsky, and he's never been able to do it in the playoffs. So there's question marks there. Question marks with Carolina. They have two.
Mrazek
they have
and
good,
McElhinney.
mediocre goalies, but they're not starters. Islanders, same. Leonard's not.
Whoa!
Okay.
Wait, don't forget Grice.
And Grice.
Probably gonna win Jennings Trophy, by the way. Go Grice and
Pittsburgh. Matt Murray. He could he's so often injured.
Do you rely on Casey DeSmith to get you to the next round?
He's played well for them, but. Yeah. And in the West, Pavelbuk's been meh. Rene was terrible last year in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado Varlamov's been hit and miss. Dallas has had great goaltending all year. That's not their problem. The problem is they can't score.
With Godolman and Bishop.
Yeah. I'm not sure. But Bishop was hurt last week. I'm not sure how he is now. Calgary. Who do you start game 1?
Hot and cold. They are a faucet, those guys.
Smith or Riddick? Who do you start? You probably start Smith just based on veteran.
I was actually going to say Riddick.
Again, that's
Wait, hold on. No, third one. Who do you start? He said Smith. I said Riddick. Who do you got?
I have absolutely no idea what they're doing.
Who are you gonna start? You make that call.
If
you're Calgary, who do you call? Who are you starting?
Whoever
Riddick?
played last best in the game 82.
I'm saying Riddick, man. But
I think Riddick has more so earned the starting role this year, and it's better in the sense that you have Smith as like that capable backup. It's kind of weird in the sense that if you flip those, I don't really trust Riddick as the backup.
Your boss is the goalie coach.
Yeah, so
you want to tell who you're buying.
It's an interesting. Like I don't know. I don't know what's going on because I thought Riddick had it, and then they gave Smith all these big games in the last week, and now Riddick started the last 2 here. So
have you looked at the standings lately? Calgary is like running away with the West.
Oh yeah, no, they
are they're so quietly great this entire year, and like, we talk about them. We
pumped their tires enough.
They're like so good, and they have goaltending issues.
Well, here's the thing: it's not really an issue. It's that
they don't have a number one.
They don't have a number one. And what was I just saying? We were just talking about if your team is good enough, you just need an adequate goalie.
Yeah.
So which one do you think is going to be most adequate?
Between the two of them?
Yeah. Which one's going to not fuck up in the crease?
Riddick.
Which one?
That's so tough.
Which one's stronger mentally?
I'm saying Riddick.
I think Smith he's had a playoff run under his belt. Like, he has like playoff success.
Yeah.
And I think to start the playoffs, especially for a team that's like is a young team and could use somebody to kind of stable things down, I would give it to Smith to start. Especially a guy who can handle the puck. He might bring some pressure off their
or create turnovers, the unnecessary plays, that classic mistake by a goaltender playing the disc.
Yeah, well, that's just a risk to take.
I'd say go Riddick and give him a chance because he's been pretty solid overall. Even when I saw him in Vegas back in November
because they'll be playing Colorado.
Colorado, yeah, that's.
I'm sure Bill Peters knows who he's starting.
Well, who's your call?
I said Riddick, but I think it could go either way. I have absolutely no idea.
So 2 versus 1. Sorry, Brad.
Yeah. Sorry, I lose.
It's
Sorry, man.
Sorry.
it's one of those cases where I'm sure the coach can read the room and he knows who the players
he'll
are.
read the room.
Who are the players more comfortable with back there?
Yeah.
And I feel like it could be Smith just
Yeah.
because he's that veteran presence. And like you said, he's a good puck handler.
It's so funny when you see certain teams that you look at their numbers and like when certain goalie goalie plays compared to the backup goalie, and how the team just changes dramatically when the one is in the net compared to the other.
Well,
Like they can't play defense. They stop scoring goals. Because they don't trust. It's funny how it switches with who's in net.
it does.
That's what Bill Peters is going to do. He's going to really read his team and how they're playing based on who's in net, and he wants that team to play in the playoffs.
So does that mean goaltending is far more valuable than ever before? Then in that sense that goaltending though, like send a full circle in a sense, comes back to the fact that it really does influence your team's play.
It does, because you have to trust your defenseman. What am I saying?
He's drunk.
You you have to trust your goalie back there. If your team doesn't have any trust for you, then you're hooped.
Yeah, but then again, as a goalie though, if you're not confident in your team, then you're just like if your momentum swings the other way, you might look good when you're trying out for a team, but if you're actually in the playoffs and you don't have much confidence your team's going to help bail you out and that you have to do all the work yourself, man, it's a tough bridge to cross.
I think Colorado could give Calgary some fits.
I think they could. But we're going to talk about that next week. Well, these playoff matchups, but
that's a fun series. Has Colorado and Calgary ever played in the playoffs? It certainly hasn't happened in a long time.
it's been a long time.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Not
'Cause
since.
I mean, they might have.
Colorado hasn't been good for like 15 years.
Yeah.
But
So.
any other last thoughts weighing into it?
Nothing. Just this playoffs first round. There could be some upsets based on who gets hot.
Who gets hot? Who
While
gets
we're
not?
on the point, Riddick's played 2 more games this year. Since we're just talking about Calgary,
No, that's cool.
I'm going through the fancy stats here. So Riddick has a 93 save percentage. Mike Smith's a 90.4. I don't know what any of these things mean.
No.
The low LD.
Don't look at me. I have no idea what that stuff is.
What is it? It says it here somewhere. Danger. Low danger. LD save percentage. So the low danger save percentage, let's just go through this here. So Riddick's 96 in the low danger zones. So you guys know like the new the offensive zone,
Yeah.
how it's all mapped out,
Mhm.
and there's like the low percentage, and like there's usually that triangle and it's like kind of a rectangle in the slot there. So low danger, Riddick's got 1% advantage. Medium danger, Riddick's got a 2% advantage. High danger zones, he's got a 4% advantage. So going with my eye test now with the fancy stats backing me up, I'm saying Riddick starts.
Take that, Brad.
Lock me down. Lock me in for Riddick.
I'm not a Calgary fan. I don't care.
Either am I, to be honest, but anyway. But anyway,
But do I want to see them do well because they're Canada? Because they're Canadian?
well, I'll save that for next week.
I'm kind of hoping for a Winnipeg Calgary conference final.
I hope Calgary's out in the first round. But
Okay, this is totally off topic. Do you like this current format?
no, I hate it.
I hate it too.
Not at all. No.
They just signed off on it to do for one more year.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's going to change though with the next CBA. Nice haircut.
But anyway, we're gonna.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna cap it off from here since we want to go to no completely
Sick
new
of seeing
topic.
the same series every year.
Yeah, but thank you for listening once again. Make sure to like, subscribe on Underdog Hockey Pod on YouTube. You can always follow us on Instagram, making wonderful posts every day. Underdog Hockey Pod once again. Have an awesome night, folks. This has been Kurt.
This is Tyler.
Yeah, Brad.
Have a good night and keep watching hockey.